So how do you make something out of nothing? Innovate. Think outside the box. Skunk works. Push the boundaries. Everyone here is being challenged to be disruptors. We've heard it in every presentation so far. I spent 20 years in new ventures, startups, and I was hired by Hasbro to lead a new business group with the mandate of leveraging Hasbro's assets in new markets and new channels. As you can imagine, as a global behemoth in their industry, Hasbro is steeped in process. And I was hired to lead a team to distinctly be outside of process, which as an entrepreneur was incredibly exciting. But I can tell you that you gotta be prepared because every day you run headfirst into the process. So how do you do it? Where do you go to even understand what it means to be out of process? What does the team look like? What do you read? How do you collect data to even guide your path? What assets do you leverage? Oh, and while you're being this disruptor, outside the box thinker, how do you make sure that you're in lockstep with the corporate mission and vision of the company, and you're adhering to the growth objectives? Most importantly, how do you sell your new innovation if the aisle doesn't exist? I'm going to walk you through a bit of our process that we used to create a new product, a new brand, to a new consumer who has no idea we're making something for them, who are difficult to market to, for which not only does the aisle not exist, but the category doesn't exist. My friend here is very accepting. So I'm excited to share this with you, and I hope by sharing part of our journey, I can help encourage you to think outside your aisle. So back to the important stuff. What does the team look like? Well, apparently they look like this. And we knew we needed diverse skill sets. We needed folks who understood the process much better than I did, but weren't paralyzed by it. We needed innovative, creative thinkers who could also execute. We needed folks with an entrepreneurial mindset, willing to wear many hats. Case in point. One thing we figured out very quickly, if you ask creative, innovative people to think outside the box, they will. And they will some more, and some more, until you have a brainstorming avalanche of ideas. And we quickly figured out we had not set any boundaries, which made it impossible to measure and determine if we were getting closer to an answer or not. No way to determine priorities or whether we should stop brainstorming and start executing. So we were headed down a path, the path just wasn't leading us anywhere. So we had to take a step back, determine some swim lanes. We needed them to be wide enough so that we could innovate inside them, but we needed them to be narrow enough so that at some point we could stop the brainstorming and start measuring against, are these scalable, marketable, needed opportunities? And we relied on the team to think from their own experience, what are areas we may have impact in, we may be able to scale. And we created these buckets, if you will, and then we had something to work with. We had a framework. Next step was within that framework, leveraging Hasbro's global consumer insights, which is decades worth of information on our customers, our fans, their interaction with our products and our brands. And we did a deep dive. We looked into any meaningful sort of quantifiable data that said some of our products, any of our products, within one of those buckets was being used either for an unintended end use or by an unintended end user, or maybe it was even a little ahead of its time. It didn't take long before we found a product from about a decade ago that about 15 or 20% of the reviews that were written were actually written. The product, by the way, was intended and created for a 4 to 8-year-old girl. That was the category. But the product was not being bought by mom for that child. It was being bought for an aging loved one. And then they were so excited about it, they wrote reviews and letters and other things to tell us about the experience they were having interacting with this product and the happiness and the joy that it was bringing. So we had a concept. Now we had to validate the concept. So we leveraged another one of Hasbro's great assets, our Fun Lab. I promise you that on this day, our fun lab looked different than it ever had before. This is a fairly controlled environment where we typically have children interacting with our games and our toys to understand play patterns and concept validation, those type of things. So we brought our new friends in, many more walkers than typically are there, but they were there. And we exposed them to a whole number of things. And we were looking for a foundational insight, something that would validate what we had read in those product reviews. And what we found out is there was a deep desire for interactive companionship. And that was an exciting thing for us to think about because interactive companionship or engagement is in our DNA. So we didn't stop here. We took this show on the road. We didn't want one Fun Lab experience to be what determined it. We went and did months worth of research at assisted living facilities, communities, and nursing homes, independent living, anyone who would let us in the door, basically, to be exposed to our products. And after that time, it did three things. One, it validated our concept. It allowed us to go to senior executives in our company and, given this sort of organic research that we did, allow them to approve the investment to move forward and greenlight the project. But third and most importantly, every interaction that our team had with our new friends built a passion that continues to grow today. They were so excited with the smiles and the enthusiasm of the folks that we were working with. It just created something where we determined right then we had to make something great. We had to make a product that meant something. So how do you determine what the product does or what it needs to have? Well, not an area that we had a lot of experience with this end user. So we took our designers and engineers and went back on the road. We went back to work with folks in their setting, how they would interact, what they're looking for, what features. And we built on our foundational insight and learned that they wanted realism. They wanted soft fur. They wanted tactile interaction. They wanted affordable. And we kept hearing about these things. And the more we learned, the more passionate we got about getting it right. So next we had to sort of prove out the business case. And to be honest, the high-level business case was pretty straightforward. We had a market that was growing exponentially over the next 40 or 50 years. It was void of folks focused on the play, fun, and joy side of aging. So it was pretty easy there. But actually, our conference room looks more like this. And now the challenge was, how do we sit in meetings and take all the information we learned from the folks that we talked to around the country and do it affordably inside the product? And I remember sitting in meetings where we were talking about paw pads. I'd never been in a paw pad meeting before. Tapered whiskers, a play pattern that was random because cats never do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. So it can't do the same thing when you touch the sensors. But that comes to life and does it, even sheds realism. And our designers day after day came in committed to doing this. And I kept seeing costs going up and up, thinking, how are we ever going to do this affordably? And they kept finding ways to do it. We were committed. So now the biggest challenge of all. How do you sell something when the aisle doesn't exist? The big box retail toy aisle is a huge engine for our company. If you have the right product, you put it through the engine, and you can scale and grow quickly. Without that, we had to think differently. We decided that we were going to launch this online-only e-commerce first physical product in Hasbro's history launched online. With that, we did the traditional digital marketing and those type of things, and quickly we figured out that marketing spend was incredibly inefficient. We had no brand recognition. No one knew we were making this product for this consumer. But we did know something. The media was unbelievably enthusiastic about this product. Within a month, we had 1 billion media impressions talking about this. And three things were at work. One, they were excited and interested in the fact that Hasbro had made a decision to go into this market. Two, there's this continuing dialogue about the role of animatronics and robotics versus human interaction as a way of having interactive connectivity. And so it sparked a bunch of things about that. And then thirdly, there's this weird thing about cats on the internet, which I still don't really understand, but it's real. And we knew in order to build that brand recognition and keep this PR engine going, we shifted away from these high-cost advertising approaches, and we started focusing on creating PRable events. I think I made up that word, but PRable events. And we knew there were partners or people out there who were working on things focused on the same issue from a different area. With Meals on Wheels, we delivered meals and companionship around the country and activations all over the place. And their mantra is more than just a meal, and so it's really about that social interconnectivity as much as it is about the nutrition. So we partnered with them, and it's been fantastic. United Healthcare, focus on caregivers, focus on research, all things that we care deeply about, learning more about, and we've partnered with them on a number of different initiatives. AARP seems pretty obvious. They know this demographic pretty well, 38 million subscribers, 22 million households. But more importantly, they're focused on disrupting aging. And we felt like we had something here that was disruptive, and we really wanted to lean into that. Well, 24 months later, if you had told me 3 years ago I'd be standing here giving this talk, I would have laughed. But we launched a cat. It was our first product, the Joy for All companion pet. We launched the dog a year later. Joy for All is our brand. That is our commitment to creating and designing products specifically for seniors. And we are so enthusiastic about the response to our product, to our entry into this marketplace. But there are challenges. If you're going to innovate, you're going to face challenges. One, internally, I think corporations overall have a sense that with new innovation, they want to measure success through the same lens that they look at the core products of the business. And that oftentimes short-sights the opportunity. And so as a team, our job is to continually communicate and help them understand how we're building a different pathway to growth and impact and scale. Two, e-commerce is different than big box. It's different than brick and mortar. You don't have 7,000 shelves to fill. There's a different way that they buy their product, order their products. It's algorithm-based versus a stocking issue. But that's the way of the future. So I believe that our brand and other brands that are focused on e-commerce initiatives are learning more and more about how to be more efficient that way for our company. Third, marketing to this demographic, it continues to be a challenge, as I'm sure many in this room can attest. But we've expanded our partnerships. We work with many of the organizations that probably are represented here as a way to directly get to those folks who may be most benefit or impacted by these products. Lastly, there's great things that happen when you think outside the aisle. We have gained a passion and enthusiasm for this marketplace, for this end user, and are committed to creating great products. And I encourage you to think outside your aisle, because you too may be able to expand your share of life. Thank you very much.